Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hope you all are doing well. Come on in. We're going to go ahead and get started in just a moment. Go ahead, if you're already in the session, just go ahead and give me a shout out in the chat. I'll be looking off a little bit because I have the chat on a different screen. So good evening, or good afternoon, rather. Please let me know if you can hear me and if you can see me okay. And make sure that the words on the screen are in the right orientation. Bernice, Reverend Womack, I enjoyed your session. Great. You can hear me. Okay. The words on the screen are flipped. Are they backwards? Okay, because I see it in the right orientation. If you see it backwards, let me know and I'll switch it around. Welcome to What a Friend We Have in Technology. Sister Bernice, you said the words are flipped. So if anyone could let me know if they see the words flipped or if they're in the right orientation, that way I can switch it around if I need to. Good afternoon. They're backwards. Okay. All right. Let me switch it around. I'm using a different device, so we're going to make this work. I'm going to stop for a second. And let me turn it around. And here we go. How about now? Let me know if it's in the right orientation. All right, here we go. Well, good afternoon and welcome to this session on What a Friend We Have in Technology. It is certainly a blessing to be here, and I'm so honored for this opportunity to connect with all of you who are gathered. And please feel free to just in the chat, just let me know where you serve in ministry. And of course, along the way, if you have any questions, that we will get an opportunity to entertain as a part of this session. I thank Reverend Womack for the opportunity and all of those who have played a role in putting this awesome virtual conference together. And this season of virtual learning and gathering, very often you'll see or attend conferences where there's very little interactivity or engagement. So, but in this conference, there has been great amount of engagement, rich sessions, and great opportunities to engage and to collaborate. So I am grateful for this opportunity to be here with you on this afternoon. For those of you whom I've not had an opportunity to interact either in person or virtually, my name is Reverend Timothy Farmer, and I have the awesome pleasure of serving. I have a unique ministry experience. I serve as the Director of Technology and Communications at Cascade United Methodist Church in Atlanta, Georgia. So if you're in the Atlanta area and if you pass by Cascade Road, feel free to stop in and give us a holler and join us currently we're still in virtual worship, but we will be back in the physical worship space very soon. And my ministry experience is unique because I serve two ministries. I serve Cascade United Methodist Church, but I also, that's where I work in ministry with Dr. Kevin Muriel and the staff, but I also serve in ministry at my home church at the Greater Piney Grove Baptist Church, where the Reverend Dr. William E. Flippin is the senior pastor. And so with that being said, we're going to dive right in, and we know that there are people who are going to join us. And I've listened to quite a few of the digital discipleship sessions, and I have gotten some great pedagogy, some great information, and I'm going to piggyback on them and help to support all of the theology and the theory with tools to help you to execute all of what you have learned and experienced today. And I hope that's okay. And certainly, Dr. Womack, thank you for all of what you shared in your session that I had an opportunity to listen. My other career, I serve Atlanta Public Schools as an instructional technology specialist. So if you cut me, I'm gonna bleed megabytes. I'm gonna bleed all things technology, because that is who I am and what has really helped to shape what I do in ministry and even my own learning capabilities as well. So with that being said, uh, in this time frame, I want you to, in your own space, and we're going to have some great opportunities to engage and actually collaborate in this space. Um, I want you to think back to that Sunday last year where you or your ministry came to a crossroads as it relates to how you were going to pivot during the pandemic. And for me, it was Sunday, March 15th, 2020. And in this picture that you see, in this video that you see here, this was the last Sunday of in-person worship for Cascade United Methodist Church. And after this service, early the next day, it was determined that based on the circumstances of COVID-19 and all of that which was happening to conserve and to be safe in public spaces, our worship service or any gatherings at the church would cease. And of course, at that time, for many of us, we thought that that might be 2 weeks or a month, maybe. But of course, many of us see us in the same space over a year later, having to grapple with how we're going to pivot in the future for what worship is going to look like. And I know many have started back in their physical space and many are still gathering virtually, but we came to a crossroads as to what we were going to do. And so fortunately, having some experience with working in virtual spaces, we were, based on some best practices, able to put together and use some tools to help us even now, not only for the worship opportunity, but also for the Monday through Saturday opportunities for outreach, evangelism, even the church administration, because we came to discover that there were many antiquated processes that we would not be able to continue and execute with staff working from home. And in this session, I'm imagining, and please let me know what capacity you may serve. Certainly you can do that in the chat. I'm imagining that this conversation and this session is going to be for those who serve in ministry, whether it be from a pastoral standpoint or whether it be from a lay standpoint, staff, as well as those who may not be on staff or with a particular ministry in terms of playing a active role there, but also using this for and opportunities for your own individual ministries, that which you might do personally. So it is my hope that this session will be a blessing to you and will provide some resources to help you along the way as well. Okay, I'm trying to get over to my chat. Okay. All right. So technology, of course, for many of us, I know all of you on here are under 25, but for me, I'm a little bit older than that. And I remember the days of technology from the vantage point of CDs and DVDs, and even further back to jump drives, and going back a little bit further to floppy disks. I know none of you all have ever heard of a floppy disk before, but technology is nothing new in ministry. I see Miss Bernice Amtrak. Oh yes, going back to the days of even before we have all of the vehicle technology that we have today. But technology is nothing new. So even as far back as Jesus's ministry on earth, and as a part of his earthly ministry, there was a virtual aspect to Jesus's ministry on earth, and I call it Church Technology 101. And doing some research and looking at how many appearances Jesus made in the Bible, only 7% of Jesus's appearances in terms of connecting with people were in a traditional worship space inside the synagogue, whereas 93% were outside of the physical worship space or the common worship space. And Jesus' ministry, of course, as we know, having in his ministry opportunities to connect with people where they were. And our virtual ministry likewise should do the same. And in the parables that we find in the Bible, only 13% of them had to do with things that were of a ecclesial matter or of the church, whereas the almost 80 or almost 90% were of things of what was considered to be the IT industry of that day, which was the agricultural industry. And so, one, being unconventional, not connecting or making the four walls of the church the mainstay of connecting with people, but also making how people, how he connected with people relevant to what was happening at the time. And so, technology's role or purpose, even as it relates to the church, is supposed to help us, one, be unconventional, meeting people where they are, and also making that which we do in ministry relate to people in their everyday lives. So, in this technology 101 on this virtual space, and even as we transition back to the physical space, it is my hope and my prayer that that which we did before the pandemic is not something that we would continue, but we would take that which we have learned and have used. Even many of you have learned some technology tools that you didn't even know existed, and then using those as a means by which to connect with people, even after you return back to the physical space, but also remaining connected with those to whom have been associated now with your ministry in the virtual world. And so in this session, we're going to cover a couple of areas of technology tools. And along the way, of course, if you have any questions in the chat, please let me know, and I'll be sure to answer them along the way. And so part one, we're going to focus on connection tools and strategies that help to keep ministries connected with their members, as well as those who are not members, but still engage with their ministry and strategies to do that. And also worship planning and execution of how to, in this space. And I know I've been fortunate to work with several ministries who are at the point of reentry and who are at the point of coming back into their physical space, not only for worship, but just for ministry in general. So, and looking at connection tools and strategies, a couple of connection tools and strategies that I am going to share with you today. And again, if these are tools that you use, you can let me know. But also there, I hope that you find some tools that can help you execute a lot of what you learned from the sessions on digital discipleship. And as a part of this session, one thing I'm going to share with you is a resource tool that will allow you to take that which I cover today, and I won't get a chance to go into them all, but I'm going to highlight several of them. But I do have a document, a living document, a technology tools document that you can use to guide you along the way for various areas of your ministry to remain connected with your ministry. And this document I'll add on a regular basis, so that way every time you go to this document, you will have access to the latest and the greatest that I add to the document. Is that all right? So I will give you a link to that during this session towards the end, so that way you will have access to all of these tools. So with connecting with people and connecting with ministries and having opportunities for people to engage, one of the challenges that as people re-enter, especially ministry leaders and those who are playing a role in that re-entry process, is having ways to easily connect and communicating information internally, as well as keeping those who have become connected with the ministry engaged and informing them of all of what is happening. And one tool, and I'll share with you several tools that I'm currently using and that I found or I see that other ministries are using and using well, is the ability to use text messages to send inspirational messages, also to share information about what's happening, any changes, any updates, especially as it relates to the use of worship space. And one way to do that, and several of the tools that I'll share are subscription based, but several of them that I'll share are what I consider to be free 99. And I know everybody on here likes the price of free 99. I don't know anybody who doesn't like something that you can get and has no cost to it. So one tool that I use regularly is called Remind. And the website is remind.com. And what Remind does, it allows you to create a group where you can text up to 150 people in that group for free. And in that group, you can use that to text people in a small group. If you have a small group that you facilitate or that you work with, or if you have a new member orientation or a discipleship group that you want to help those who are new to the church to remain connected along the journey, then remind.com, and Remind is free, and remind.com is it's web-based so that you can access it from any computer. And you can also download the mobile app. And so as you have information that you want to share, you can use Remind as a way to share information with your constituents and whatever group that might be. You can have multiple groups. So if you serve in multiple ministries, then you can use Remind as a way to connect and easily communicate with them on an ongoing basis. And so here's an example of how Remind is used in my life. So I use Remind serving with the audiovisual team as well as the communications team. Then I can have several groups, several classes. I use it for other groups as well. And within each group, I can host up to 150 people to communicate information on an ongoing basis. And if I'm going too fast on anything, please let me know. And so I can add people by simply typing in their phone number, and it will add them to this group, and I can take people away as needed, and I can send files. So if I have an agenda or if I have a picture, all of that are things that I can send as a part of Remind, that in the group that I've created in Remind. And that's simply remind.com. And so as a part of this document, several of the tools will have step-by-step tutorial videos. Of course, in this hour session, there's not enough time to actually dive deeply into all of the tools. But what I will do is in this document, there are several tools that I've done a tutorial video with a person who is new to technology. And so walking them step by step through that. I know all of you are rock stars and gurus, so I hope I'm not insulting anybody's intelligence as I go through these tools, but I did want to share that which I believe would be a benefit to your ministry. So in addition to Remind, one of my favorite tools is a way for ministry leaders and ministry members and those who are a part of small groups and those who just need to connect in a common space, is to use a tool made by Google. And you may hear me refer to Google tools quite a bit. And with Google, you have a way for people to connect and to work all in one space, all at the same time. Now, when I grew up in the church, and I'm a church boy through and through, we would have every year what we called a fellowship dinner. And the fellowship dinner, the announcing clerk, back in the days of the announcing clerk, anybody know about the announcing clerk? I'm sure you do. Who would stand up with the pillbox hat and who would make the announcements for that Sunday. And so during that session, once a year, she would announce, we're getting ready to have the fellowship dinner, and we need all of the ladies of the church to bring a covered dish and all of the men to bring a can of punch, assuming the men couldn't cook. And so the day of that fellowship dinner, there would be too much macaroni and cheese and not enough green beans, or there will be too much chicken and not enough turkey, because there was not a way for people to sign up easily in order to bring something for the dinner. But now we have tools to help us to do that. And one of my favorite tools to help to provide collaboration is with Google Docs. And if you've heard of Google Docs, you can just, hit me up or shout out in the chat that you are a Google Docs user. But what Google Docs will do, Google Docs will let you create a document that multiple people can type in to share information. So if you're working to gather or to get a list for people to send information, you can use Google Docs as a way in order to do that. So here is an example. And I want to see if this actually works as a way for people to collaborate on this document. And Reverend Womack, if you're still here, you can let me know if in the chat links actually work. So I'm going to take a link to a document and I'm going to attempt to post it in the chat to see if the link will actually work. Let's see here. Okay, it doesn't look like, oh, it may be a hyperlink. Okay, so if you're in this session and if you're so inclined, click on that link. And what I want you to do on this link is I want you to type, bring a dish to the fellowship dinner. And I want you to type what you are good at making. And I hope that worked. And so I'm going to bring, because this is what I know how to make and make well, I'm going to bring paper plates. All right. So if during the session you want to type on the document what you can bring, then, or you can put it in the chat and I'll type it on the document for you. But with Google Docs, it allows you to type on a document and multiple people can type on it. So that way you can have an opportunity to collaborate. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that up there. All right. So another tool that's similar to Google that will let you collaborate or to get volunteers if you're looking to get more people to sign up for participating in the back to school drive, or if you're trying to collect school supplies for the school back to school drive. Another tool to be able to do that is called Sign Up Genius. And this is just another example of a fellowship dinner. And so people can sign up. This could be for school supplies, or if you want people to sign up for a particular date for church pictures, or if you're doing a community outreach activity and you have time slots for people to serve, then signupgenius.com is another great tool to be able to send out a link. You can put that link in Remind, and then from there, people can sign up to participate in the initiatives, whether it be through discipleship or whether it be through evangelism. And again, this is free as well, where people can sign up to participate in a particular initiative or activity. Okay, I don't have anybody to sign up just yet. Okay, all right. I guess we'll just have paper plates for the dinner. But again, Google lets you have a way to collaborate with each other. Now, one of the great things that Google will do, and this is just a commercial, and I'm giving this away for free. Usually I charge for this, but I'm giving it away for free. But with Google, for those of you who are technology experts, Google will let you take something that you have typed that you no longer have the ability to edit. Let's say it's a document that you just have the paper version of, or if you have handwritten it, Google will let you take that document and transform it into typed text, where you can actually type on top of it and you won't have to retype it all over again. So for the person who has sermons that are 20 and 30 years old that were handwritten, or that you have the paper version, you typed them but no longer have the dot matrix printer to be able to retype them over, instead of retyping, Google will type those or transform those to typed documents, which you can edit. So, and I'll show you that before the session ends, but Google allows you to take documents that are older that you don't have to retype all over again. So speaking of Google, if you are a church leader, or if you serve in administration of your church, if you're a pastor or whatever role you may serve, whether this is your direct lane or if it is not, one thing that Google is offering for free for nonprofit organizations. They are offering for free a business version of their platform that they are offering for nonprofits. And I'll say that again. If you don't hear anything else that I say, Google for nonprofits is google.com/nonprofits. Google is offering for nonprofits its business version of their product. What does that mean? That means with this product, you can create, if your ministry needs a website to help connect with people. And I know that as many churches are going back, they're finding that their website needs to be refreshed. And there are ministries who are working with a smaller budget and don't have the resources to hire a web designer. Well, Google offers for free, and I'll show you an example of a built out website that was done for free, where a ministry can create a virtual church to help connect people who are a part of their ministry, as well as those who are not a part of their ministries, to have a collective space for them to collaborate and for them to connect, and then ultimately to be convicted and compelled. And so Google for Nonprofits is a great tool, and it's very easy to follow. You will need some documentation about the nonprofit status of your church, but it is an easy way to get a business version, and you can create accounts for all of your ministry leaders, for them to have access to all of the Google tools for video conferencing, for small groups, all of those things to help keep people connected for all of the things that ministries are doing, both virtually as well as many who are going back in person into the worship space. And one of those tools for small groups and for small gatherings, I know that many are using Zoom, but as ministries grow and the ministries who may want to take advantage of a free resource to have as many small groups as possible to connect, is using a tool by Google called Google Meet. What Google Meet, and even if you don't have a Google for Nonprofits account, with a Gmail account or a Google account, you have access to Google Meet as a way to connect people. This works wonders for small groups. And I know there are some other tools out there that are subscription based, that are used for small groups to have different rooms and different areas. But Google Meet, what it does, similar to Zoom, it does have the capacity to take small groups and break them down into even smaller groups. It does have many of the tools and the capacities and features that Zoom does. And so, but with a Google Meet account, you can create as many as you like, especially with a Google for Nonprofits account. You can create as many as you like for small groups. Also with Google Meet, you have the capacity to create a code or a link, and it stays the same all the time for all of your meetings and for all of your gatherings and small groups. So additionally, with Google Meet, you have the ability, I'm going to start a new one just so you see, you can schedule it. You can create an instant meeting, which many of our small group leaders do, and they use that same link every time, or you can put it on the Google Calendar. Now, I know that many are using Zoom and are heavily involved in Zoom meetings all the time. I know my middle name is Zoom, but if you are looking to expand your use of Zoom, or if you are wanting to have multiple Zoom accounts for all of your meetings, small groups, staff meetings, things of that nature, then what Zoom has to offer, there is a way to get a discounted version of Zoom. So if you're looking to get multiple Zoom accounts, instead of purchasing them one by one, you can use a website called TechSoup. And TechSoup will give you a 50% discount on multiple Zoom accounts, whether you need the version where you get up to 100 people, or if you need the version where you get up to 300 people. So that's what TechSoup has to offer. It is a nonprofit organization, and it partners with nonprofit organizations to provide for them the access to discounts, not only on Zoom, but on Microsoft products. So if you're church or if you use Office 365 or if you use Adobe, they have access to discounted pricing for all of those tools to help keep your costs low. And then those funds otherwise that you would be spending can be used for other ministry purposes. So TechSoup, you just create a free account, provide some documentation from your church, and then it provides access to discounts on all of the things that they provide for technology that are discounted with TechSoup. So in addition to TechSoup, let me see if I can get to my other page. So as many ministries have been streaming online, and I'm going to talk about streaming and some streaming best practices, as well as continuing both a virtual and a physical worship environment, simultaneous worship is connecting with people on social media. And it was said earlier in, I believe in Reverend Womack's session about looking at matrix and looking at data to know how people are engaging with your ministry online. And one good way to do that in terms of connection tools and using connection strategies is to use a website called Hootsuite. And what Hootsuite will do, Hootsuite does have a free version that you can connect up to 3 social media outlets: your Facebook, your YouTube, your Twitter. You can connect Instagram, and it will allow you to schedule posts ahead of time. So you can begin to devise, as a part of your communication and your connection with people, what I consider to be a social media plan. One thing that as a ministry you don't want to do is just sporadically post things online, which it does have its place when there are times when things come up impromptu. But you want to have a plan that will help you to decide what is posted on what day and have some consistency around posting. So that way people can expect a certain message or a certain post on a Monday, especially for the millennial audience, as they are heavily on social media, and Generation Z and all of the generations that have the letters, that's their main way of connecting in this space. So being strategic, and one way to be strategic with social media is to find a day each day of the week that you have a theme. Whereas, of course, Sunday is worship. You may have a theme of young adults on Monday, or you may have something that relates to the seniors on Tuesday. You may have something that relates to outreach and community on Wednesday, just based on whatever is going on in your audience and in your community. So doing that helps you to stay connected more authentically with the audience of those who are gravitating to your ministry. And Hootsuite helps you to do that. Not only does it help you to post and schedule posts for a later time, you can schedule multiple posts and schedule out posts for the entire week or even longer. And so also it helps you to make sure that you are looking at data as to how people are connecting with your posts. And with Hootsuite, it does give you the ability to analyze data. It gives you the ability to know how many new likes, how many new post connections. And I liked how Reverend Womack said that not likes for ego, but likes or connections for engagement. You want to see how long people are watching. And there are some other tools. Google has a tool for website connections called Google Analytics. YouTube, all of the social media platforms within their own website have analytic tools. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time to get into the analytics, but all of them have those tools. But on a basic level, you want to make sure that you have a plan, and you can use a Google Doc to create a basic social media plan where you plan out the entire month of what you might have going on at your church. And as other people see it, then they can, who are part of the team, can find the gaps and then identify places where you can plug in information. That way you have something to post every single day, if not every day, at least several times a week. I say the rule of thumb for posting is at least 3 times a week. If you want to keep up with data that is being connected from your social media channels and it's called an algorithm. And I know all of you all are. I know Brother Bonner is a rocket scientist, so he knows all of this, but it helps you to stay connected and help the social media channels to know that you're still active and that you are viable as a ministry. So, and Hootsuite helps you to do that. Another way for connecting with people, and even before I share that tool, every opportunity that you get, whether it be through from your social media or whether it be through if you're having in-person worship and you are getting registrations, when you get information, place it inside of your tools that can send messages to people. So if you're getting through registrations and you want to send out text messages, add those phone numbers to the text message system. So anytime you connect and gather information, place it inside of all of the tools that you have. So when it comes to email addresses, when people come, and I'm going to show you an example of a virtual website or a virtual church model, where through that virtual church model, you can gather information through forms. And then on the back end, you are using that information to remain connected for even greater discipleship. So, and that's done through, many of you have seen emails through Constant Contact, or you're currently using Constant Contact through a newsletter that you do every week or every other week, once a month. The email addresses that you gather through your evangelism opportunities, place those into the contacts of any marketing tool or email marketing tool that you might use. So we use in my ministry, Constant Contact, and every time a person fills out the first time guest form, their email address is automatically added to Constant Contact to add them to the mailing list. And by virtue of that, it does give data as well as to how many people are clicking on the messages that you send out through Constant Contact. MailChimp is another one that many are using. And there's consistency around the day and the time to which we send this, to then connect with people where they know every week on this day and time, there's this newsletter that goes out to give me updates about what's happening and opportunities for them to connect. And yes, algorithms is, I know Brother Bonner said he just learned about the impact of those, but they are very impactful, and many ministries are now learning how to use those as a way to remain connected and know, especially with worship streaming, how people are connecting. Another tool, of course, through YouTube and Facebook, they both have ways to gather data about how people are connecting with your ministry. And I have this here because one point I did want to make, I'm going to hopefully get to streaming, is having a test page or a non-published page for your social media. If you are doing some testing, and I wish I had the opportunity to go into best practices for preparing for live and virtual worship, but that's one of them, to have a test page. So on this page, through our church's page, gives us the opportunity to see the data about how people are connecting and looking at the insights of the information as far as posts, videos, and streaming as well. Right. And YouTube offers the same. So when you're posting and when you're connecting with people, you want to have exciting and engaging information. One way to do that, or a couple of ways to do that, is to use pictures as a way to tell your ministry story. If your ministry story is not visible, then it's going to be a challenge to connect with people, especially as they're scrolling or if they're swiping. I call it the swipe left theory. Swipe left happens when there is minimal visibility. People stay when the visibility of the ministry is taking place. So through your social media, if you are, if your church is new to developing social media or creating content, the first place to start is by using pictures as a way to post on your page. And not only pictures, and Google Photos, back to Google, is a good way to compile pictures and to keep pictures available for the purposes of social media content and for other purposes as well by creating albums. This is free through Google. Again, free 99. So, but also using graphics. And I know we have some graphic designers on here, but for those of us who are not in the lane of graphic design, many of us have heard of Canva as a way to create presentations, graphic design for social media. Another one that I've grown to appreciate is Poster My Wall. And I like Poster My Wall. I like Canva too, but Poster My Wall has a church section that is ever evolving to help as a starting point for ministries who don't have the means by which to contract a graphic designer, for them to have a starting place for them to develop graphics to, again, tell the story and to make the ministry visually appealing as a means by which to connect with people and to keep people informed and engaged. So Canva and Poster My Wall are great starting places. I always encourage ministries to work to evolve to where you have a dedicated person or a dedicated team for graphic design, because they begin to learn the church's style, theme, and they can incorporate that on an ongoing basis for that which is being devised for the church. So, and of course, Fiverr is another tool. Fiverr. Hope I'm spelling that right. Is an online website where you can contract and find someone to devise or create graphics for you. But if you're going the DIY route, then Poster My Wall is a great resource to do that. So, and then connecting with people, having something visually appealing, again, can be done. Of course, there is the aspect of it where you have a team of designers to put all of this together for you, but for the team of volunteers and working to maintain a minimal cost, then there are, to at least for a website, if you're looking to get online, or if you had a website a long time ago and then all of a sudden you need to get back into updating a website or creating or getting back in the online presence, then Google, as I mentioned before, Google offers for free as a part of its platform a way to create websites. So this is an example of a website that was created for a women's conference back in 2019. And they used a tool in Google called Google Sites. Yes, Fiverr is great, Brother Bonner. Fiverr has helped me out a lot of times to get some graphics done when my creativity wasn't really working for me. But this is created through Google Sites. So there was a volunteer team. Some of the graphics on here were created by a designer, and then they posted the graphics here. They used, they created videos. Some of them were with cell phones. Some of them were with a professional camera to tell the story about the women's conference that was happening. Also, there at the top was the opportunity for registration. The team who was putting it together, the workshop speakers, sponsors, and things of that nature. So if a ministry is trying to get off the ground with getting a presence through a website, and also for a virtual church model, which I'm going to show momentarily, then Google Sites is a great place to start. Now, that is, again, a great place to start, to then evolve to tools such as the tool that we're using now for virtual conferences, which I love because it gives you the interactivity that allows you to engage with people in real time. So with creating a website, then, and there are other tools out there like WordPress, Squarespace, Wix, Weebly. I like Google again because not only is it free, but it also gives you the ability to collaborate with others. So if you have a team who need to keep their content updated, you can do that with Google. And so, as a part of the strategy in this space of connecting with people, is creating either a space on the website for to help increase discipleship for a virtual environment. It could be the homepage or at least a page on the website that gives the virtual attendee the same experience that they would in a physical space. Just like this conference space gives that feel when I walk into the conference hall virtually, is similar to that, which if I'm going to a physical conference where I walk to a conference session or vendor session. So as ministries evolve to get to that place, then they can do that or have a similar experience with a Google site. So I'm going to show you an example of a virtual church experience where it was just added as a page on the website, but how it unfolds gives a similar experience to what a person would experience on a Sunday morning. So this is the homepage of the site to which of the ministry to which I serve. And so there is a virtual church area. And when the pandemic first happened last year, we then created this page as a way for ministries or for members, those who are members of the church in Atlanta, as well as those who were in other cities, as a way to create an environment that was similar to what they would experience on a Sunday morning. So we did that with links and with pictures, very simple and very basic. So here we took a picture of what a person would experience when they first come into the church and then place those resources here as links to forms that we created for free with Google Drive. And so there's a first time check-in form for members. They check in with Realm, which is our membership management tool, get the newsletter, our Christian education opportunities for Sunday school and for on-demand opportunities, as well as where we stood with COVID-19, then on to entering into the worship space. So getting your Bible, and I know all of you all bring your physical Bible to church or were in the physical space. And then we had a virtual grand hall. And this is a way to create a space and a virtual grand hall. Many people love to gather in the vestibule, lobby, narthex, whatever you like to call it, to catch up with people and what was happening in their lives and how their families were doing. And of course, when the church shut down, there wasn't a way to do that with. So with the virtual grand hall, that recreated that opportunity where people could record a video, tell how they were doing, how they enjoyed worship service, and people could respond. And then they all post on a grid. And people can go back and add comments, add their videos to it as well. And that was our virtual lobby. And that was with a tool called Flipgrid. That'll be on the sheet, and it's free as well. Down to our live worship service. So here's where they can click. It'll take them to YouTube where they can watch the worship service there. Or here we have the worship service. When it's live, it automatically populates here as well. And then all of our giving opportunity links down to Christian discipleship for salvation, joining the church, prayer requests, feedback. The goal is to continue to evolve this to that which would take place during the week as far as connection opportunities for our small groups, as well as for evangelism outreach as well. So this was simply just creating an additional page on the website. Initially, this was the homepage of the website. Then we transitioned it. So this can be accomplished with Google Forms. And one other Google form that is really transforming not only my ministry, but the ministry of several churches is taking forms such as check requests and communication requests and event requests that which they had to fill out in person at the church now to forms that are online through Google and for free on the back end. If there are people who need to approve certain processes, it will go through a flow where people can approve, and then that event gets on the calendar once all of the people need to approve it and be informed about it, as well as any technology requests and communications requests. So if you want something in the newsletter or on the website, this is your way to go about doing that. And again, this is done for free through Google Forms. So, so transitioning quickly in the time that I have left to part 2, and I'm going to kind of scurry through some tool as far as worship execution. Just like a social media plan, having a worship service plan, if you're doing virtual service or if you're doing service in person, having a worship plan in place to know. And of course, this isn't in stone, because as the Spirit moves, things change. But going into, I believe, worship preparation is just as powerful as the move of the Spirit. I think that helps to prepare you for even greater worship, going into it with a plan for the Spirit to move. And that's also as it relates to liturgy, making sure that the service is liturgically sound and everyone is on the same page as to what is happening. This is through this is an example of a worship outline for pre-recorded worship, but this also is through a Google Doc, which is free. The next level of worship planning is through a tool, and I'm sure many of you have heard of it, called Planning Center. Planning Center is a website. It is subscription based, and it does have an app that allows you to download. It'll send reminders to those who are part of worship, those who are part of the new member orientation team, those who are part of the choir, AV team, all of that. It reminds them of what their role is, even leading up to worship. It also does the same thing for events. So it lets you create a calendar of events. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit to just some streaming tools. So OBS is a common streaming tool. I know there are several ministries who are just now getting into live streaming and how they can best make that happen for their ministry. OBS is a great place to start. OBS is free. I'm a fan of also, and several of you I'm sure have heard of Restream as a way. You can connect all of your social media channels in one space. And once you are ready to go live and have your camera on, then you can go live to all of the social media platforms for Sunday, as well as for any other time during the week, Bible study, morning prayer. It can be done through Restream. Also, a favorite of mine for pre-recorded worship, if you are looking to have a way, I know several of us are using Premiere as a way to connect people or to have our worship service on YouTube and on Facebook. I like OneStream. OneStream lets you go live, or you upload it once, schedule it, and it will stream it to multiple platforms all at the same time. And it has never dropped, or sometimes Facebook or YouTube, as you upload, the upload will drop and then you have to start all over. But this has helped us in many regards. So even as of last Sunday, the worship service, you upload it, schedule it, it'll go out to all of your social media channels at one time. For ministries who don't have cameras, who are wondering what they're going to do when they go back into the physical space, then Switcher Studio is a great way, if you have wireless internet, to use mobile devices to have multiple shots and add graphics for worship services. I've seen this used and it looks pretty good, almost like a professional camera as a part of their initial setup. StreamYard is a great tool. I know many of us have seen these on social media or have participated in some, where you can have interviews. We have many Oprahs and Montel Williams now who are hosting their own shows online. And so, and this is a way that they're doing that. And then ProPresenter is a tool for presentations in the physical space. And they're using this as a way to put Bible verses on the screens and things of that nature. And then for virtual choirs, a cappella is a great tool to be able to do that. Being able to connect multiple people in one place. I'm sure all of us have seen a virtual choir in some regard during the pandemic. And people are going to continue to do them because even though they're back in the space, they're going to have people who have joined their church and want to join and be a part of the ministry in even worship and arts who aren't a member of their church. So this allows them with the app to be able to record their part. There's a component, a track that's provided from the worship team, music team. Then everyone who gets the track can then do their part, and then it all comes together. There are some editing components that go along with it, but the basic principle can be done through Mixchord. So I'm going to pause for a moment, and I know I've shared a lot of information, and I hope that these resources will be a blessing to you. But there is a document, and I'll put a link to it in the chat. Oh yes, one stream has saved our life, and Brother Bonner, I started, schedule it, and it does its own thing, and it'll send out the push notifications as well when 15 minutes before we go live. So in the chat, I'm putting a link to the tools document that I've shared with these tools as well as several other tools, where you can click on that and it will give you access to, and I'm sure it'll be also available as a part of the resources for the conference, for you to use this as a way to connect with people through your ministries and the things that you do. And so with that being said, if there are any questions, I'm going to put up my contact information. So that way, if you'd like to connect with me for questions or for a deeper dive into the resources, feel free to reach out to me in that regard. My email address and phone number and social media, I am on all of the platforms at Farmer Tech Group. Feel free to reach out to me in that regard. But if you have any questions, please let me know either in the chat, and I'll be more than happy to answer any of your questions. And so as we close, I've been very encouraged at being a part of this conference and seeing and connecting with people in their ministries and the great things to which they're doing. And it is my hope that as we continue even transitioning back into physical spaces, that we don't conform to that which we were used to before, but that we will ultimately allow for that which we've learned in this space to then transition us to even greater ministry as we work to connect with those whom before would never have stepped foot or may still never step foot in the church. But this is our way to connect with them. I believe that online, I said it before, online streaming is different, or there's a huge difference between that and online community. And the community to which we have gathered, and then using these tools to enhance that community, will help to foster an environment where people will remain or will feel that they are in a space where they are not judged, but it will, I hope, help to flatten the hierarchy of ministry or cultures of ministry that oftentimes new members are discouraged by when they actually walk through the physical doors of the church. That, as it was said during the opening keynote, that there are open arms, but there are judging eyes. And so with that being said, God bless you. I hope that this has been helpful to you, and may you continue to do great things in this space and beyond. Take care.